My laptop is old. It's a 6-year-old Acer E1 57, but I still use it as my workhorse for web browsing, content creation, video editing and rendering. And I do play high-end PC games using Nvidia's streaming service, GeForce Now. But you can imagine after this long, it's a bit of a slow and frustrating experience. I upgraded the RAM from 4GB to 8GB a few years ago. I make sure there's plenty of space on the hard drive. I defrag the hard drive every now and again. I use System Mechanic, and it works okay for a 6-year-old PC. But when you start up programs like Photoshop or Premiere, or you're rendering stuff, or even when you're firing up like a web browser, it takes a while to do it. And when you start it up, you kind of start it up and go and make a cup of tea and come back. You can do that sort of stuff, like many old kind of PCs. And one other thing, I guess I could reinstall Windows, but I've got a lot of programs on here that I don't really want to risk doing that with. And generally, it feels like an old laptop. However, this all changed when I upgraded and replaced the standard internal hard drive with the Samsung internal SSD, so a solid state drive, and honestly it has transformed my laptop. Now, I bought the Samsung 1TB 860 EVO internal SSD, which was on offer on Amazon at the time, and I also got a USB to SATA cable, because you need that so you can plug the new drive into your laptop, so that you can then clone your hard drives. The whole point of doing this is that you just clone your old hard drive to the new SSD, so you can just take the hard drive out, the old one, and then plug the new one in, and then it just fires up off that, so there's no reinstalling or downloading programs and all that sort of stuff. And I've got to say, this upgrade has been amazing. It's way better than when I doubled the RAM from 4 to 8GB. It's way better than when you do a clean install of Windows. Seriously, my laptop is so much faster now that it's a real pleasure to use, and it feels like a new machine. The way that it works is the SSD, the solid state drive, doesn't have any moving bits in it, unlike your hard drive, which has a spinning platter inside, like a record spinning around, and then it has a head that has to jump backwards and forwards to retrieve the data, which they do very, very, very fast. But with an SSD, because it's basically memory, it can pull that data off incredibly quickly. I mean, you can look up the text specs of it, but it does it very, 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 very fast. And what that means is the laptop now starts much, much faster. And also when I go to fire up a program, it can start much, much faster because it can load all that data into RAM. And I'm no expert on this, but often computers, when they're working, they will use something, I think it's called a page file, something like that, where it uses your hard drive as virtual memory, and so it's saving stuff and bringing it out when it needs it. And obviously if it's on an SSD, it can do all that much, much faster. So not only now does my laptop start much faster when I hit the power button, and all the programs can pop up way, way faster. When I shut it down as well, it's way, way faster. I used to have to every night I would have to do a proper shutdown. I wouldn't want to hibernate it just in case there was a problem. But now it just shuts down, a couple of seconds, and bunk, it's turned off. It seems, and it's just snappier. It feels really, really, really good. Even, as I say, things like web browsing is faster, because opening and closing windows, it works really, really quickly. Now, I did a little test, and it hasn't made my laptop any better at gaming, because my laptop was never a gaming PC when it was new. It doesn't have any dedicated onboard graphics. I guess it had quite a snappy processor for its time. But for things like streaming games from GeForce Now, which is how I play my high-end PC games, it seems fine. I guess GeForce Now probably fires up a little bit faster than it used to, but it isn't now a gaming PC. But for those things that I do most of, which is web browsing, making notes, content creation in terms of rendering videos and doing recordings, it's so much snappier. Now, cloning the old HD, the old hard drive, to the new solid state drive was easy when I figured out how to do it properly, and I would highly recommend that you install and use the free version of Aomi. I'll put a link in the description down below, because it can be quite difficult to decide which software to use. But Iomi, I found, was really simple in the fact that it didn't allow you to make mistakes in the way that some of the other software does. When you do a Google search for free cloning software, there's a few others that come up, and I can't remember which one it was, but I downloaded one, and I thought I was doing it right, but I cloned my hard drive wrong, which meant that it wouldn't then work. And the cloning process actually takes a long time if you've got an old laptop, because my Aspire only has USB 2 ports on it, which means the data transfer rate is pretty slow. So it took a long time to transfer the 750 gigabytes worth of data from my old HD, my old hard drive, to the new SSD via the USB. And I basically had to do that twice. And what happened was, as soon as I'd done it with Iomi, it worked bang. You take the battery out of your laptop, you change the hard drive, turned it on, bang, and that was it. It was working. It was so simple. The only other thing I did was, because my old hard drive was a 750 gigabyte affair, and this new one is a 1 terabyte. Basically, you clone the drive, and then you create another partition, another drive on the new drive. So now I've got a C and I think a D or an E. So I've got this spare 250 gigabyte drive, which I can shuffle files into to keep the main drive, so it's got like 250 gigabytes free on it as well, which probably would speed things up a little bit as well. So to kind of sum up this short, I guess, rather non-technical, rather basic review, I've got to say that switching to an SSD is the best PC upgrade I have ever done. My new 6-year-old laptop feels like a new machine. It's snappier. The performance means it's a pleasure to use it again. And I'd say, if you can afford it, and maybe you're thinking, I really need a new laptop, or think about just getting an SSD first, because I think you'll be very, very pleased with the results, and it will give you more life to that existing PC. Even if you were doing something like you wanted to pass, you wanted to buy a new laptop or a new computer, but you wanted to pass your old laptop onto maybe a family member or someone else. If you fitted an SSD for them, oh wow. Or I guess if you're a technical person who repairs your family's or your friends' PCs, and they're complaining about having a slow laptop, changing it to an SSD makes so much difference. Anyway, that's enough from me. Put your questions and comments in below the video, and of course I'll see you again soon.